What is going on, everybody? Happy Monday. It's January 11th, 4:15 p.m., where I am in the central time zone in the US. Prices of Bitcoin currently at $34,300. Heavy volatility, a lot of downside movement that we've seen in Bitcoin and altcoins across the board. Currently, we're down still about 18.5% or so from the highs. We were down almost 22% at the lows. Actually, it looks like 27%. So let's dissect. Let's talk about Bitcoin. Let's talk about altcoins. Is there an alt season coming? Is the top in? Let's discuss all those questions that are on your mind. So make sure you guys hit the thumbs up, by the way. Leave us a comment of your thoughts. And again, go to our website if you do want to sign up for the Advantage membership, thealphatrades.com. You can hit the products page and sign up for a membership right here. That gives you access to our Advantage community. This is our Advantage community. All the lock channels that you see, all the discussions that we have about Bitcoin, about things happening in the markets, we discuss right here in our private Discord. Again, it's $97 per month. So it's a fantastic deal, in my opinion, for all the information, 2-a-day videos that we have for our paid members. And then with that, I show people exactly what I'm longing, shorting, buying, selling, trading alts, trading DeFi, all the stuff that I'm doing in the market, I'm sharing with my community in terms of my analysis. Again, it's not investment advice this is not a buying or sell signal group. We're simply here to show you exactly how I'm looking at the market. So anyway, once again, hit the thumbs up and hope you guys come join. Let's get to the analysis. So first, we're going to start off with Bitcoin. Okay, on the 15-minute time frame, right? We saw a lot of selling happening over the last 24, 48 hours, starting from basically this area right here. Once we started cracking some of these trend lines, so the first trend line that I was watching was this key trend line right here. Once that started breaking, this was really the area to be cautious, but did not warrant any reason to exercise selling until this area right here broke from support and turned into resistance and then started selling off. See, I think that part really started to show weakness, and that could have been a selling opportunity right here on the rebound and retest of this key SR level. Now, of course, I've been a big proponent of this market not being a market that you want to short, at least not for now. But if push comes to shove and we have to get into the shorting mode, we will. In our community, we trade both sides of the market. So we're not a long only, or we're not uber bulls. We'll play both sides if both sides are actually giving us great opportunities. I still continue to believe that the market is still in a bullish trend, right? It's not in a dip buying mode or anything as such, but it is in a bullish trend. It's very hard to argue that this movement that you're seeing right now is not a bullish trend, right? So you could see, it's clear as day exactly what the trend of the market is. It just happens to be that when you see movement like this and you get stuck in the 15-minute time frame, it looks like the world is coming to an end, but it's not. This is just a day in Bitcoin. It's a crazy day, but it's just one day, right? So in terms of the daily chart, right, like I said earlier, we had a 27% drawdown. 27% is not that much, considering that back here in 2017, you could see we've had 40% drawdowns. We've had this one right here. That's another 42% drawdown right there. Right, we've had multiple drawdowns of 40 or 30%, as you can see right there. And then over here in this candle right here, 23%. So multiple times we've done that before, making our way up towards $20,000. Comparing 2017 to 2020 is tough, but it's doable because Bitcoin has a repetitive nature in terms of its rhythm, the way it moves, and it tends to repeat itself in its movements. There are certain things in Bitcoin that we can reuse over and over again, such as the halving cycle and what happens post-halving. We know that the supply and demand of Bitcoin is largely consistent in how the supply is produced and how demand is now getting absorbed with people like Michael Saylor or big funds like Guggenheim or what other funds are out there? Oh, Grayscale, you know, Galaxy Digital, Pantera Capital, all these funds, they have to report on what kind of Bitcoin holdings do they have, right? And especially people like Michael Saylor are out there talking about their positions in the market and when they're buying. So it helps us understand that Bitcoin is getting bought. And when it is getting bought and the trend is up, and the supply is finite and limited due to the fact that we had a halving created, and there's a whole lot of absorption happening from people like Michael Saylor and Grayscale, you know that at the very least, the floor is capped. It doesn't mean that the ceiling is exponential. It just means that the floor is capped, because there could be a lot of sellers in the market that we're not aware of. There are much bigger whales in the market than Grayscale, than Michael Saylor, who could short Bitcoin and sell relentlessly. Those are the people that you definitely should worry about. But for now, you have to focus on the trend. You have to zoom out. Now, let's talk about today, right? Today, if you go on Trading Light right here, in today's daily candle, you can see right here, delta volume, right? We have about 43,000 worth of Bitcoin buying, but we also had about 51,000 worth of Bitcoin selling. That's a lot of selling that happened in the market. I was talking about this earlier today on Twitter. There was selling that started happening. Now, again, all this stuff, you know, in hindsight, it becomes easier to understand why this kind of movement happened. It's very tough to determine, oh, this should have happened, you know, way up here, and to say that from here we're going to dump straight to 30,000, right? But when we sort of do some dissecting of exactly what was going on in the movement, we get to understand that there were some big sellers in the market drip selling from about $41,000, which was, you know, there's relentless selling of about 100 to 200 Bitcoin pretty much every few minutes on Coinbase. And the buying kind of evaporated because people thought that, oh, wait a second, this is a nice sharp bounce. Let's, let's see if this is going to push higher. But nope, it got rejected at this trend line, started trending lower. And then this bounce right here last night, again, people thought this is going to push higher, but nope, it started going lower. So what happens effectively is when the market shifts from being a dip buying mode to surprising the crap out of people, saying dips are not being bought because price is not moving up higher, that panics even the more resolute buyers. And when you start to shake out the bigger buyers who are confident in buying the dip here or here, and you make another down move, they also tend to capitulate because you may not get back up soon, right? It is possible that maybe we do go lower. Bitcoin has had plenty of crazy crashes, right? 30, 40%, like I showed you. In March 2020, we saw a crash of about 60 to 70%. A lot of people could have PTSD because of that. And that's totally normal. To be able to protect your capital and want to make sure that you preserve the gains that you've made over the last year, there's nothing wrong with that. But when it comes to Bitcoin as it is right now, just because we've had, some basing right here for the last several hours, that doesn't really mean anything. This base that we're going to create here, it needs to do so for probably several hours, several 4-hour candles, or several days. So in this area right here, we need to create a nice base of reaccumulation right here and then start thrusting up and out of here. I think what scares me about BTC sometimes is, when it's bullish, more and more people take more risk and they lever up really hard. And that's why you see this kind of unwinding of long positions, unwinding of leverage positions to the downside. And in all honesty, this is really healthy for the market, right? It really is. Okay. Now in our community, we actually have our own challenge that we started about 13 days ago. We have a 5K account challenge where we started with about $5,000, right? On January 9th, this challenge was about 18,000. A couple days back, it was somewhere around 13,000. And then today, this morning at maximum drawdown, it was at $7,800. So we're still in profit, right? We're still doing great. But the question is, how are you doing? How did you manage your positions today? Did you sell at the bottom? Did you buy the dip? If so, what did you buy? Right? And are you sure that this is the bottom? See, these are the questions that you need to ask yourself if and when you are buying something, because these are questions that don't get asked, right? People relentlessly just think that we have to be in the dip buying mode. And then when the market starts heading down further, you get caught with your pants down because you're overexposed. You don't have cash on the side. You're in over leveraged positions. You might have your liquidation points a little bit tighter. Okay. So if you want to be able to manage risk and understand how we trade, we started this challenge for our paid members just so I can show them all the positions I'm taking in the market on a day-to-day basis, how I de-risk, how I take profit, where I keep my stops, right? How do I enter different spot positions to hold up my collateral value, right? So once again, make sure y'all join our Advantage membership at thealphatrades.com products page. And then the membership is right here. Okay. All right. Now, so we spoke about BTC, right? So immediate levels of support, I think this one right here, $30,750, that was a nice level that got tagged. And obviously we rebounded nicely. The next thing we really need to do is we need to stay above not only $33,000, but we need to exceed and break above this key pivot, which is a new weekly pivot around 36,000 or so. Okay. Now that's obviously, not too far away, given that we've already bounced almost $5,000 or something so far from the bottom. But getting above that and holding is probably the one thing that you want to make sure BTC can do. Because if it cannot hold, right, say we have done something like this and we thrust up really fast, but then we start rolling back over, see, everybody who bought in this area will once again capitulate their longs, and we might make a lower low as per this low right here. And if we make a lower low, then I would probably figure we hit the monthly open, which is around $28,950. That is my line of defense that I truly believe bulls really, really need to hold. If they do not hold this yearly open, I would probably say there's a very, very high chance that we head towards 20,000. And I'm not saying that to cause panic or alarm, but given that when we start a new year, generally I pay a lot of attention to yearly opens. Yearly opens are something in a sense that once the price starts to break above the beginning of the year and it has retested that area of support, like it did right here with this wick that you could see, right? So the year started right here. We thrust it up all the way to 35,000, retested that yearly open around 29, and then went all the way to 42. From 42 to come back all the way to 29 is fine, okay? It's okay, but as long as we bounce up and off of it. If you go from 42 and you break the yearly open right here, and you do some wonky stuff like that, then you're probably going to start looking for bigger weekly support levels. And from a weekly standpoint, the biggest visible level is this, 20,000. Previous high in 2017, multi-week consolidation before we made the big upthrust. So from here, I'd probably figure we head back to 20,000 if that yearly open doesn't hold. Again, not to cause alarm or panic, but that's the most visible weekly level. So let's not think about, the yearly open breaking. Let's just make sure that that level holds, because if it doesn't, things can get really ugly. Now, where's the bullish case? Well, the bullish case is this, right? And there's two different ways I think this could play out. Okay. Personally, my most probable and idealistic scenario is that maybe this is a mini distribution, right? This is an A wave, we have a B, and then we have another C that tags the yearly open. And if we tag that yearly open, then I want a nice range developing for a month, even better if it's 2 or 3 months. And you have a reaccumulation range right here. And once in that reaccumulation range, then you start moving up and out of here. Because if you start moving up and out of a reaccumulation range, I'm fairly certain this is going to get broken. And like pretty hard, right? It's once we start breaking up and out of a reaccumulation range, I would say with high confidence that we're at least heading up to 50,000, at least. But until then, right, it's hard to say where exactly price is going in the immediate term. Now, the other possibility is maybe this is just a sharp sell-off, a leverage long cleanup like we've had over the past several months, and then we just turbo mode out of here. I would personally prefer that we spend a few weeks, a few months down here. Why? Because you can do a lot of damage to the perpetual bulls in the market and just bore people to death and make them commit mistakes down here. See, when you clean up the excess in leverage markets, right, you put the asset into the right people's hands, which is the larger institutions and hedge funds. And when that money and that asset is put into the bigger hands, the bigger whales, they can drive the market up much further. Okay, and then retail can then FOMO in at 50,000, at 60,000. The ceiling opens up much higher when you do have that kind of movement. So ideally, you should hope and pray that you do base out right here for a week or a couple of weeks or a couple of months, because that opens up a huge upside for Bitcoin. And not only Bitcoin, but altcoins as well. All right, let's talk about ETH. ETH came very, very close to the previous all-time high. If you look right here, right, we came about maybe $50 to $60 short of the previous all-time high. That's a good sign, but we didn't make it. We got pretty strongly rejected. Now, ETH from a level-to-level standpoint, okay, at this rejection, the most visible level is this area right here, which is $800 on a weekly basis, right? So in terms of support, I probably look for ETH to head towards there if we do not recover this candle going into later this week or next week, right? So it's not necessary that we have to come down here. It's very possible, like I said, we just reverse this in turbo mode, back up in a week or so. But if you want to have a higher ceiling in terms of ETH and some of these other altcoins, it's probably best we spend more time down here for ETH around 800, for Bitcoin around $29,000, $30,000. So ETH is definitely an asset that I'm paying attention to, and I hold a bunch of spot ETH. Along with that, I also hold a bunch of FTT spot. Now, FTT is one of my favorite exchange tokens because I truly believe that FTX, the exchange that this token is built off of, is one of the best exchanges for crypto in the world. I truly believe that FTT as a token will probably appreciate at least 100% from here. That's how I'm trading it. I'm not telling you to buy or sell. That's how I am trading it. And so I hold a bunch of spot FTT tokens. With this sell-off right here, my average is still about $5. I'm not concerned, right? I'm still up, let me see, from $5 or so. I'm still up about 60, 65% in FTT. So I'm not concerned at all. If anything, I would like to buy more spot FTT. I'm good in terms of my position, but if I get another pullback, I would probably consider buying. Okay, so that's another asset that I'm kind of paying attention to, right? So you can see right here, that's my entry, 505. If it does start lowering down and dumping, again, I'd come back to the $5 range right here for FTT as well. I don't think it's going to get down all the way there, but something to pay attention to, right? Wi-Fi. Okay, my other spot position. I've held Wi-Fi from about 24,000 flat, 24.5-ish actually. Even Wi-Fi as a position, okay, in this area right here, from here to here, I'm up about 20%. So in ETH, I have an average of about 594. Let me see where that is. So I'm up about 78%. So you can see my spot positions are doing great. ETH and FTT and Wi-Fi, I'm doing great. I basically cut down all my leverage positions this morning, right? I mean, right before the panic really settled in and started to really crack down, I just got out of my positions. I said, you know what? I don't really want to deal with this blood. I'm in profit. I'm just going to go back into spot and hang out until the market clears up. Maybe the market is cleared up right now, but maybe it's also not. Right? Maybe there's more selling to ensue in the coming days or in the coming weeks. But I'm not going to wait and leverage positions to find out how low we can go. Best I just secure some cash. Best I stay in spot and just wait for the blood to just settle down. Okay. Sometimes the best thing you can do is just sit back and wait and be patient. Do not try to be a hero and try to bottom buy the market or buy the dip or snipe the bottom and thinking that, all right, I got the exact bottom. Let's ride this thing back up. Because you don't know if this is a bottom. You could have just been a pawn in a bigger piece of the game, which is this kind of movement right here. Okay. So, I wait patiently and I let my community know exactly what I'm thinking about doing. And we'll see, we'll see what happens. All right. So I do believe that, there is probably going to be more upside to BTC later this year or in the next couple weeks. This movement, in my opinion, was erratic, but maybe necessary, right? People got very bullish. Everybody started talking about, 100,000 Bitcoin or 200,000 Bitcoin. Sometimes it's good to just flush some people out, change the sentiment a little bit, right? It's still some fear in the market. And when there's too much fear and too much blood, but irrational fear and irrational blood, I think that's really the moment to buy. So if you are curious how I'm going to go about trading it, once again, go to our website, sign up for our membership, hit the thumbs up, and I'll talk to you then. All right. Cheers, and I'll talk to you soon.